It's time for lumberjack!
Lumberjacks is sponsored by Echo, only professional grade with 5-year warranty. Crown, protect, maintain, save. Gas Guzzler lifts gas and oils from land, vehicles, and tools. Yamaha, conquer outdoors.
We're out here in beautiful British Columbia for the 56th annual Squamish Days Lager Sports Festival, a fantastic celebration of lager sports held every year in which people travel from all over the place to come and see. We're on the site of a dry land log sort, which is a clear indication of how hard these loggers work on a daily basis to get the raw materials to the mill. Hi, I'm Bill Debo with my Lumberjack sport analyst and co-host Rod Cumberland. Now, Rod's our first time out here in Squamish. We're going to see some interesting and exciting events that we haven't seen yet on Lumberjack's TV series, including an event called the Tree Topping.
Tree topping, top of an incredibly exciting event. Lumberjacks running 80 feet straight up a pole. They have their saw and tote. When they get to the top, they rope off, and then, of course, saw block up the top. Very reminiscent to tree topping out in the forest.
Another Lumberjack sport event that people are very familiar with. They love watching it. It's called the log burling. Somebody gets wet, somebody stays dry. It's a fantastic event to watch. Who do we have in the field?
We've got the best in the business here right now. Wade Stewart, I don't know how many times he's been the world champion. He's here taking on the young gun Sterling Hart and Brian Bartow from the States.
Out here in Squamish, we got a fantastic field of competitors here. Not just the axemen and the sawyers. We got all the versatile guys, choker racers, pole climbers, tree toppers, and more. Right now, Brian Bartow's leading the way with 250 points. And this particular competition is running like a well-oiled machine with a large committee of people putting it on a regular basis. We are in its 56th annual. Earlier in the day, we had log burling. And in the championship round, Brian Bartow took out Sterling Hart, and Shauna Martin took out Carson Bischoff to set up a battle for first and second place. In the consolation round, we had Wade Stewart beating Sterling Hart, and Lucas Brownjohn took Carson Bischoff in a best 2 out of 3 match. So right now we're getting ready to go with the third and fourth place battle between Lucas Brownjohn and Wade Stewart. Now, log burling, Rod, is a typical lumberjack sport event where, you know, people think of lumberjack sports, they think of log burling.
Log burling, of course, reminiscent of the days of river drives on both east and west coast of Canada and the United States. And here these guys are practicing it here modern day at the Lumberjack Sports.
And this is certainly a lumberjack sport where you've got to watch what the other guy's doing. It looks like Wade Stewart's cut Lucas off balance in the first heat here. And Wade goes up 1-0. He goes in for the kill. As soon as you see the one guy, his arm goes up, Lucas is a little bit off balance here. Wade goes in for the kill, outruns him, and Lucas gets wet. And we go into the second heat.
Wade Stewart, quite a surprise to see him here. Actually was taken out by Shanna Martin right off the bat in this. He actually had a tough draw right off the bat. Shauna Martin, she's out for the blood here in the log burling on the west coast at Squamish. Wade Stewart now trying to get the best 2 out of 3 falls here against Lucas.
Well, again, as I mentioned earlier, you got to rely completely on what the other guy does because it affects what you do. Wade Stewart a little bit off balance there. You see his arms flail up there. Lucas has got to win this heat to advance to heat number 3, hoping for a third place here and put Wade into 4th place.
It's all about balance. He knows he's got him running here now, and I think he held on long enough. I think Wade was the first one in the drink on that fall.
Well, you can see in the replay here that they're both sprinting towards the end there, and I think the fact that Lucas threw himself up, you see Wade go into the water first, Lucas second. The judges give it to Lucas as we head into heat number 3 right now. It's 1-1.
Well, Lucas Brownjohn getting a lot of the experience in log burling on the West Coast by putting on lumberjack shows, and you can see some of that sportsmanship in that last heat as he leaped high in the air to win that fall.
It's all about the feet here. You can see both guys concentrating on each other's feet, watching the moves back and forth, holding the log steady as best they can, keeping their balance. Tap, 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 go their feet, and you can see them both going backwards right now. Backwards, forwards, and Wade Stewart wins 3rd place here by snapping off Luke Brownjohn.
Well, this is one of the events where really experience comes into play a lot. Wade Stewart been log burling a long time. Lucas Brownjohn just 24 years old. And you see Wade doing the read here, right? He sees him going back on his heels and he takes him down.
Hi, my name is Shauna Martin. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin, and I am a fitness expert, speaker, presenter, and trainer.
My name is Brian Bartow. I'm from Malala, Oregon, and I'm a track and field coach.
Well, here it is, first and second place on the line between Brian Bartow and Shauna Martin in the log Birling.
Shauna Martin, well known in the log Birling circles in the United States, but she doesn't make her way north of the border a whole lot. She wanted to come to Squamish, British Columbia to take on the big boys and actually win a Canadian championship.
You can see Shauna actually hopping on the log at times, very, very quick afoot and light on the log, as opposed to Brian being a bigger, stronger guy. You'd think the advantage might go to him.
No question, the log Birling, obviously the bigger, heavier person usually has an advantage. They try to use that weight to kick the log out from underneath a smaller opponent, but he's having a tough time doing it here against Shauna.
She's very, very agile and quick on her feet, watching every step of the way for Brian Bartow. She's got him off balance a little bit, and Brian Bartow goes in, and heat number one goes to Shauna as she just sort of tiptoes her way and gets control of the log. You can see Brian, when the arms start to flail, he's leaning back a little bit. She takes advantage and just sprints her way to knocking him off the log. Heat number one goes to Shauna.
Well, Shauna's still dry. You can see Brian Bartow's got wet clothing on him, so she has a little bit of an advantage there. She needs all she can on this small log. See who's going to be in this round.
Well, we got two Americans here, and Shauna Martin wins the log Birling here in Squamish, British Columbia, taking out a whole field of competitors. She was the only woman in the field. She came out all the way to BC and took down all the big boys. Hey, Shauna, let's talk about the first heat for starters. There was a long one, the bigger log, and there was a big battle. Just tell me about battling someone with a lot more weight.
Well, this is pretty amazing. Here in Canada, we do co-ed rolling, and in the States, we don't do it, so I'm not used to rolling the boys at all. And the few times I have, they've just launched me off the log. So I've been training extremely, extremely hard this year, and was expecting to maybe get 5th, 6th place, and nobody got a fall on me all weekend. It was unbelievable. I'm honored and excited.
So now, I saw you take advantage when you got that first fall. Saw him a little off balance, you went for it.
Well, the way Brian rolls, he's very, very strong, so he was trying to use his strength to jerk me in. So if I can watch his feet and wait for him to try to make a move against me, and then I capitalize on that, that's when he goes in. And that's really the only way I can do it, because I can't push and pull somebody that strong around in the log.
Well, what a spectacular field of competitors here in the log Birling out in Squamish, British Columbia. Shauna Martin, the only woman in the field, taking out all the big boys. Having a look at the Chief just outside of Squamish, British Columbia. We're here for the Logger Sports Festival. Just before the show got started, I had a chance to talk to one of the committee members, Amy Fast. Amy, you know, there's a lot of manpower and man hours that goes to an event like this. I mean, Squamish is so big. Just tell me about the kind of contributions you get for sponsorship in kind.
We're really pleased in such a small community like Squamish to have such a big support system here. So through cash sponsorships, as well as the volunteers, companies donating product. So we've got a company called Cardinal Concrete and their sister company Coast Aggregates that have donated countless amounts of the resources we have here at the Logger Sports Ground, so concrete and gravel. Companies like Finning and JR Transport who donate the equipment that we use to move the vehicles here. We've got Squamish Forestry, which is kind enough to donate our beautiful falling trees that we use and then return to them to go back into their sales.
Up next, we're going to show you the top 2 heats in the Underhand shop.
Hi, my name's David McDonald. I'm an accountant from Waikiki, New Zealand.
David Moses Jr., Snoqualmie, Washington, and I'm a tile setter.
Well, this big show in Squamish, they have a total of 20 Underhand shoppers. We're going to be showing you in this first heat, Moses Jr. taking on McDonald from Down Under.
And Down Under, of course, we know they're really strong in the underhand and standing block chops, and we're shopping 13 inches of round alder here.
Both these guys, big, powerful hitters, which means they've got to be hitting them accurately.
You see that David's putting his last 2 drivers in, David Moses. McDonald's already around. He's taking out his first few chips. They got to get into the small wood here and start driving it off.
Very deliberate on their strokes. Very powerful stroke. David Moses ready to break things off. He's trying to drive things. His axe is sticking a little bit. Maybe he wounded himself a little bit. And McDonald sticks on his last stroke. David McDonald wins the first heat with a 29.8.
Moses Jr., known for his underhand chop in the U.S., he's not going to be happy with his placing here.
David, you seem to be a power hitter, certainly. Very deliberate, strong blows. Tell me about your style.
Oh, just lining it up. Got a big X, so just slow down and just put it in the right place.
Making your turn from your front side to your back side once again. Slow but deliberate. You're ready for that first hit, right?
Yeah, just trying to do things right. Not trying to rush anything too much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jesse Whitehead from a small town in New Zealand called Waikiki, and I'm an engineer by trade.
Hey, I'm Bobby Dowling, land surveyor from Tuatapere, New Zealand.
Huge international field of choppers here in Squamish, British Columbia. This next heat, Whitehead versus Dowling. Another classic example of some excellent choppers from down under.
Excellent choppers from down under. Also quite a bit difference in the size. You've got Bobby Dowling, who's a big, strong lad, and Jesse Whitehead, who's not a big lad at all, but look how accurate he is with his swings.
Whitehead right on his marks there with a lot more speed than Bobby. Bobby's hitting it hard and powerful. Jesse's ready to make his turn to the backside. A couple of drivers, away he goes. Bobby Dowling staying with him and making his turn just behind him.
Guys that are small like me, of course, we have to make up for what we lose in power and strength with our speed and accuracy. And look at Jesse doing a great job here and then as he get into his small wood and getting ready to drive it off.
And it looks like Jesse opens up to a little bit of a knot as he's ready to drive things off on his backside. And Jesse Whitehead wins the heat with a 36.41 over his countryman Bobby Dowling as Bobby just runs out of gas.
Hey Jesse, I know typically you chop a lot of wood down under. How does the alder here at the Squamish Fair differ from that?
It's a little bit harder here at Squamish, a lot more chippier.
Do you pick a different axe? Is there anything you do differently to approach the wood, or is there?
Yeah, the axe, you need to polish the edge slightly more. If you don't do that, you could hit a knot and break that axe.
Your axe held up pretty good today, though.
Yeah, not too bad.
Okay, great job, Jesse. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Well, in this massive heat of underhand choppers out here in Squamish, British Columbia, it's hard to cover them all. Mike Forrester in the earlier heat wins it with a 27.08.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Insect Defend Patch. Deep-free protection from biting insects.
I got more beer! He's got a gun. Hey, I found your necklace!
I tell you, I'm gonna turn you from a rooster to a hen in one shot. How could I miss that target?
Hey!
Oh! Oh!
You know, what a fantastic act. It's truly a world-class act. You know, I first saw that probably 13 years ago in Caslow. Just give me a brief history on that act.
Oh, crazy stuff, hey? 30 years up and jumping off the top of that tree. It goes by really quick. And every time it's still like, oh, yeah, look at me go, hey? You gotta love the crowd. The crowd's the best part.
So how many years and how many more years you got in you?
How many more years? Well, I retire every time I get off the tree. Just keep on going. It's great.
Well, what a fantastic athlete and entertainer Greg Hart has been over the years. I first saw that show back in the year 2000 in Caslow, British Columbia. It amazed me then. It still amazes me to this date. We're headed into the Butcher Block. We got two teams here. We got a Canada-New Zealand team taking on an American team. We got Mike Forrester, Brendan Sergai, and Will Page taking on Sterling Hart, Mitch Hewitt, and Bobby Dowling from New Zealand.
This is an awesome event. They're actually chopping 26 inches of round cottonwood. It's a little bit gritty and it hugs your axes quite tightly. You'll see a couple of different strategies as the men get into this. The whole technique is you're only allowed to take at the minimum 8 strokes, at the maximum 12 strokes, and you have to rotate through your team.
Well, you see Bobby Dowling there for the Team Canada-New Zealand team. You can see the Americans here chunking out half of the front cut there.
Obviously, the biggest trick when you're chopping wood this size, with big round wood, is to get that first chip out. Sometimes what you got to do is actually cut the block into half, take a small chip out just to get it moving before you get into the big wood.
Well, you can see the guys alternating through. It's amazing, Rod. I know you've done this a couple of times, how fast your turn comes back around again. You think 24 strokes is a lot of time to catch your breath. You're back in no time.
Actually, cottonwood, what I usually try to do is between competitors, I try to go over and actually lubricate my axe so it stays free in this cottonwood. But, man, I'll tell you, you just get that spray-on turnaround, and you're right back in it.
Looks like Mitch Hewitt is trying to put the finishing touches on the front side for the Canadian-New Zealand team. There's Brendan Sergai trying to chunk out a big front half of the American team.
You see the lines on the block, they actually come in really important when you're doing a butcher block because you want to make sure your back chop is higher than your front side so that you can actually drive it off.
We're just over the 3-minute mark right now. Team Canada and Sterling Hart. You can see the block wobbling. Sterling's trying to drive things off right now. Take out a couple more chunks there. And Americans have got to pull out that big final chunk on the far side there as Will Page is trying to break things off.
Takes a long time to go the whole way across this, but Sterling Hart, he's trying to see where the wood left that's holding it is in the middle of the fire. There it is, they're on the ground in 3:23.
And the Canada-New Zealand team sets a time to beat. So, Bobby, I've elected you as official spokesman for your team there. Just tell me a little bit about the strategy of the butcher block like that.
Well, I'm probably least qualified to be team spokesman as we had a couple of Canadian champion standing block cutters on my team. So I was probably the one dragging the chain a bit there. But, yeah, it was 2 Canadians, 1 Kiwi in our team. And we just got pipped by a team of 2 Kiwis and 1 Canadian. So a good mix in there.
So how do you decide, who's going to do what? How many strokes you're going to take? Was it 8, 10, 12, or something like that? Just tell me a little bit about your strategy.
Well, our strategy was to try and cut down time on transitions. So we did the full 12 hits every single time to try and keep things moving as much as possible. And because one of us is right-handed and the other two are left, that let us get a bit better movement on it as well. So that helped a lot too.
Well, 26 inches of cottonwood's full of a lot of grit, but it takes a lot more grit in the competitors if they're going to get through it in winning time. And McDonald, Whitehead, and Stewart do it in style.
We're out here in beautiful British Columbia, in Squamish, British Columbia, for the Lager Sports Festival, and we are headed into one of the most exciting lager sports competitions there are. It is called the Tree Topping, probably one of the most difficult competitions as well. We're going to be showing you the top 2 heats. In this first heat, we got Lucas Brownjohn taking on Bobby Dowling. Now, we talked to Bobby before the show got started here today, and he told us he's only done this a couple of times, and my goodness, what a difficult event to bring here to Squamish for Bobby Dowling to give a try. 80 feet in the air.
You seldom see a Kiwi or an Aussie on a pole like this, but Bobby Dowling, hats off to him. He's going to give it a whirl here. He's going up against Lucas Brownjohn. Lucas does this on the weekends just for fun. He's a good climber, and hopefully he's toting a good saw with him.
Well, Lucas is way ahead at this point as Bobby Dowling is making his way up there slowly but surely. Lucas has hit the 80-foot mark, and Bobby only about 10 or 15 feet behind him.
Not doing too bad. Now, of course, the object of this is your rope is really big. These ropes have a metal cable on the inside of them, but they're obviously large for the bottom of the pole. Once they get to the top, they have to actually take that slack out, get in a little bit closer, haul up their crosscuts on, then cut a disc off the top of the pole.
Which is one of the things Bobby is not doing. He's not hauling in the slack on his cable there to make things a little bit easier for him to get that rope up there. He's got to haul in some of that slack as he's really slowing down things as he passes the 60-foot mark. Lucas Brownjohn roped into the top. He's getting his saw into the wood. They give him a good starter cut to get things going there, and Lucas is into the wood in under a minute.
You see there's a little bit difference here in the crosscut saws that they're using. They're a lot shorter than the typical crosscut saws we use when we're double bucking and single bucking. Also, the handles are changed because you have to saw on the horizontal. So Lucas here going back and forth. Man, I'm not sure who sharpened that saw for him, but it's taken him quite a while to get this block on the ground.
Well, he just passed the 2-minute mark right now, and Bobby Dowling is now taking in his rope to get himself set at the top, get himself in a good sawing position. Lucas Brownjohn is trying to put the finishing touches on this saw. He's taking quite some time as he reaches the 2:20 mark, and Bobby Dowling is just holding on for dear life. He wants to get his saw into the wood. Looks like Lucas is going to handily win this heat. Lucas sets the time to beat at 2:26.
Well, that was a great climb by Lucas Brownjohn, but I bet right now he's wishing he had somebody else put a little bit more of an edge on those teeth to bring that disc down a little bit faster. Bobby, I've watched you do a lot of great chops, and I was surprised to see you on the pole. What was going on there? What got you on the pole?
It's an event that I've always wanted to have a crack at. You know, I grew up watching the greats, Greg Hart and Wade Stewart, and the newcomers Sterling Hart and Brian Bartow flying up those trees. And then I saw this crazy event where they climb up and saw the top off. And I've always backed myself as a decent sawyer on the ground, so I thought, well, why not have a crack up top? And yeah, I mean, it's just a little 80 feet in the way of getting to the top, and turns out it's a bit harder than it looks. Yeah.
So how many times have you done this? Like, was this your first time in a show?
This is my second time doing the tree topping. I did a 60-foot climb and tree top at Port Gamble last year, and that was hard enough, trust me. Another 20 feet with this one, and it's when I got to that 60-foot mark, that's when I really felt the pain coming in, and yeah, it was pretty tough from there.
Sterling Hart, Maple Ridge, firefighter.
My name is Brian Bartow. I'm from Molalla, Oregon, and I'm a track and field coach.
Well, my hat's off to Bobby Dowling for a time of 3:46.22 in that tree topping. It seemed like he was up there forever, but great job getting the job done by Bobby Dowling. Brian Bartow taking on Sterling Hart in the second heat of the tree topping.
A little bit more serious climbers here, a little bit more serious saws. You can see Sterling had another helper there holding onto a saw before he took off the ground, so hopefully that saw is good and sharp. Both these guys fast up to the bell. They race almost nick and tuck, and of course, this event, you don't have to have a great out like Sterling has coming down. Brian Bartow, this is a little bit of a grudge match. He wants to try to take him down in this after losing to him in the tree climbing.
Coming up on 25 seconds, both guys are locked in up to the 80-foot mark, and Brian Bartow's got a saw in the wood. Sterling Hart into the wood, and they're both going on at the same time. A little bit of adjustment there by Sterling Hart on his left leg.
Sterling's got to play catch up now. He's behind him getting into the wood. I want to hope that saw is really fast because Brian Bartow saw is cutting very well. He's out well. He's using his arms well, his upper body. Who's it going to be?
What a spectacular sight. Two phenomenal athletes, 80 feet in the air, locked in, leaning back over the open blue sky there. Brian Bartow versus Sterling Hart. Brian Bartow, time stop when the disc hits the ground, and Brian Bartow clocks in with a 53.95 and wins a tree topping event over his arch rival, Sterling Hart. Brian, tree topping, you probably had a million races against Sterling Hart. It's a tough event, obviously. Just tell me about what's going through your mind, on the ground before you leave the ground.
Well, this top in particular, it was the very last event of the whole day, and topping is one of the hardest events, and I was not looking forward to it. And both of us, Sterling and I, we chopped a butcher block right before, and our arms are just dead. And I'm just thinking how tired he is. He's thinking how tired I am, and we're just trying to get up there and outlast the other one.
How tough is it up there doing the actual sawing?
It's pretty tough. I mean, it's 80 feet up there, and you're winded, and you've got to saw, 35 inches of wood, and yeah, it's not the easiest thing to do, especially after a full days of events.
Okay, thanks very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks.
Well, Brian Bartow and Sterling Hart put on a great show, and look at that, they outclassed the field by, miles anyway. Brian takes the tree topping with a 53.95.
And our crown pivotal point today focused on Bobby Dowling, the man from down under. He hung up his axes for the day and grabbed his spurs, made it to the top of the pole, and made a 5th place finish in the treetop.
And we're now 2/3 of the way through the competition here at the Logger Sports Competition at Squamish Days Logger Sports Festival. Brian Bartow, Sterling Hart, and Brandon Sergei are putting a little bit of space between the rest of the field.
And our gas guzzler lumberjack of the day is a Lumberjill, Shauna Martin from Wisconsin, all the way to Canada to take home a first place trophy for her trophy case.
And after 56 years, Squamish Days Logger Sports Festival is still going strong with a whole lot of support from the community. Come back again next week for the exciting conclusion.
Lumberjacks is sponsored by Echo, only professional grade with 5-year warranty. Crown, protect, maintain, save. K100, make water burn. Yamaha, conquer outdoors.
I'm Sterling Hart, and welcome to Lumberjacks. Now, my specialty event today is going to be the tree climb. Basically, that's racing up and down an 80-foot pole in the fastest time possible. Now, the main pieces of equipment we use are your spurs and your rope. Now, everybody is required to use the same rope. It's a 7/8 steel core hemp rope. So it's got the cable on the inside for safety. But what we also use is a bit of extra cable on the outside. It's actually a 6-gauge fencing wire, and we weave that around the outside. And what that does is gives this rope an extra bit of stability. So when we go to climb on these big poles, which are actually the biggest in the world for any competition I've ever been to, that keeps that rope nice and stiff. So when you flip it up, the rope comes with you and you don't actually have to drag it up. Cuts down on friction, resistance, and just makes it a lot easier to do.